just go ahead and introduce yourself again.
All right. What's up, guys? My name is Emilio Medina. I was incarcerated. I had a sentence for about 10 years. I ended up doing 7 and change, and recently being released and back into society.
Okay, so you just got to a point that I kind of wanted to bring up with our viewers that you obviously didn't do the full 10 years. So can you explain what happened with that, with your situation?
Yes, well, I was sentenced to 120 months, so 10 years. And as it is, out of 120 months, you do like 8.5, somewhere around there, with, give or take, if you take the drug program or not. I ended up not qualifying for the drug program
Why why didn't you qualify?
because I didn't have a drug problem.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not have a drug. Actually, it was a technicality. Let me tell you. Let me actually go into that. My attorney told me to tell them that I do drugs, right? All
Right.
right. So I was like, all right, I smoke weed to go to sleep.
Right.
I tell the pre-sentence investigation lady. So all right, so that's in the pre-sentence investigation. So now that's proof that I use drugs, right?
Right.
So when I try to take that drug program, the drug counselor told me that I don't qualify because he doesn't specify that I use drugs within the last year of me being out. But I'm
Okay.
like, well, it says that I self-medicate with marijuana to be able to go to sleep. So that's every night
Right.
when I go to sleep. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't say within the last year.
Okay.
And they use that to not give me the program.
All right. So you still, aside from the good time, you're saying 8.5 years, you got an additional year and a half that you weren't expecting. How did that happen?
Yeah, because of the was it the first step back? The first step back, you're supposed to accrue days that go against your sentence.
Okay.
So by the time that everything it passed in 2019, November 2019,
Right.
and by the time that it was all said and done, I had like 700 days accrued by the time it was actually implemented, right? They were playing games as they usually do. They're playing games and actually giving you your time. So by the time that I had my calculations done, I can only use 270 of those days.
Okay.
By the time that my halfway house they came approach, right?
Right.
So I still have 480 days that I'm still trying to figure out how to apply it. Like I'm trying to apply into my probation now because I mean, what do I do? You know what I mean? So they took so long to implement it. By the time that it was, by the time that I didn't have enough time to take advantage of it all. I mean, I
But
took advantage of some, but not all of it.
so have you had a lawyer tell you that you might be able to apply those extra days to reducing your the length of your probation? Have you heard any?
No, the
Okay.
the lady at the halfway house told me that. She actually gave me the number to call, but they moved my jurisdiction from Ohio to Florida,
Right.
and she gave me the Ohio number.
Okay.
So I have to call, I have to figure out who do I need to call here because for what for what she said, they could approve those 480 days that I have left towards my probation.
Okay. Wow. I wasn't even
Well,
aware
they
of
would
that.
only be able to do, I think they only be able to do 365 days overall. Because I think you can only get a year off of your front end and a year off of your back end.
Okay.
So being that the front end of mine is already done, even though that I didn't take the year, I
Right.
didn't get the year, they could take the 365 over my back end.
Um, I don't know, talk about just your experience with COVID since you were one of the guys that like caught a break with that stuff, just to kind of talk about it. As far as I know, all that stuff's over with now, isn't it? Is anybody getting compassionate release anymore?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anybody get compassionate release. I see that a lot of people are getting longer halfway house terms.
Right. That's the way, because I just talked to DJ and that's what it sounds like. They're doing like they're trying to give, I don't know, 24 months or even more time like that.
Yeah, because they were doing it. When was it? Shit, like just last year they were trying to do it, but it was a catch 22. You know how it is. Like
yeah.
they don't communicate with the halfway houses. They don't know what the fuck is going on, right?
Okay.
So they're putting you in for 24 months, and the halfway house is like what the fuck are you doing? Like, no, we don't take people for 24 months. So they were
Right.
like, well, we tried.
Yeah, I mean, and North Carolina doesn't have bed space. I mean, I got 4 months. I was supposed to go to Fayetteville the day I went to R&D. Like my sister was driving to Fayetteville, North Carolina to drop off my stuff. I'm at R&D
Yeah.
and I'm looking at the paperwork and it says Florence, South Carolina. I'm like, what the fuck? They're like, yeah, you're going, this is where you're going. Nobody told you? Like, are you fucking serious? I'm like, you got to let me use the phone. They're like, nah, you got to get out the door. I said, I'm not leaving until you let me call my sister and tell her she's about to drive to 4 hours of this halfway house that I ain't going to be at, you know? So this was your first time in prison at all? Was this your first time getting in trouble?
That was my first time getting in trouble. That was the first time being inside of a jail ever. Like that was I never had a record, nothing.
Well, can you just describe what that experience was like for you going in, how you felt, you know, what you did to cope with it, to deal with the situation?
Uh the day that I got arrested was like the worst. And I hate to say it like this sometimes, but I feel like it's the worst day of my life, and also it became almost like a new beginning of my life, and a lot of things just kind of just off my shoulders at that night, right? So I get raided, get arrested, whatever, you know, and the turmoil start happening. Like, okay, you're going through the motions and everything. So you go through booking, you go to arraignment and all that stuff, and then somehow like when I got to the county, it was like the best night's sleep that I had in a long, long time.
Yeah, I was the same way when I got arrested. All that, I don't know, paranoia, expecting it to come, and it's just there. You sleeping the sleep of the guilty is, I think, is what I've heard it described as.
It was the best night's sleep that I had in at least 2 years.
Wow.
And but then the next day you wake up and you're in a whole new environment with a bunch of people that you would have never been around, if it would have never been a choice to be around those people.
Right.
But from the one thing that helped me cope with everything, man, it was like knowing that I'm here physically, but I'm not getting used to this. I
Yeah.
don't belong here. I'm gonna survive and I'm gonna move a certain way to because I'm here and I
Right.
need to kind of navigate the situation. But knowing in your mind that this is just temporary, and this will be over.
Right.
And that mentality helped me the most when I got to Petersburg, because that's where we met in
Right.
Petersburg. Uh, Petersburg was probably the worst condition jail that I've ever been. And I went to a lot of places because of COVID, because of getting in trouble. I went to like 4 or 5 different places, like 3 different places actually. Um, and Petersburg was like, I get there, they give me half a mat. It had a hole in the middle of it, but I was already used to all the bullshit and everything, so
Right.
nothing bothered me. Like I grabbed the mat with the hole in it, and I had a good night's sleep
Right.
because in my mind, I'm just here temporarily. This is not my house. I'm not getting comfortable.
Right.
So it didn't matter how uncomfortable they try to make you. When you know that you're not getting comfortable, it's like your mind just makes you comfortable and makes you go to sleep. And you remember those summer days in
Oh,
Petersburg?
wow. Yeah. 94 degrees at night and you
Right.
trying to sleep with
Yeah,
cockroaches crawling over you. I definitely
exactly.
remember that. So you said something about that first night in jail was like it was a new beginning. What do you mean by that?
It was a new beginning because everything that you fear is there right now. It's happening. Because once you get arrested, it's just things don't end there. Like if you had a life, there's things crumbling in the background that's a result of that night, right?
Right.
So they start seizing property or this, and just family adjusting to everything. They don't know where to go see you. How do I do this? It's a whole new world that they have to navigate. That one, you don't know it, and two, they don't know it, and it's new to them. It's new to you. It's a lot. It's a drastic change to everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes it's worse on the family
Right.
because you're in there and that's where you're at, but they still have to live their life and incorporate you into their life too, because they got to take the time to go see you. They got to take the time to deal with these fucking COs. They're fucking psychopaths, you know.
Yeah.
Um, not
Yeah.
all, of them, but
A
yeah,
lot of guys have trouble maintaining relationships throughout their sentence, but you and your girl stay together the whole time, didn't you?
yeah, yeah.
So you got any kind of perspective you can add for guys that are, looking at, about to, maybe they're about to self-surrender and they're worried about how their relationship's gonna if it's gonna last or not? You got anything to say about that, or any tips
Uh,
maybe?
I feel that the best thing to for that is to give people the freedom to walk away, because just give them the choice. You know, like this is what's gonna be. I don't know what's gonna be, because really when I got arrested, I didn't know what it was gonna be. I didn't know how much time I was looking at. I didn't know anything. You know, so the very first night I was like, listen, I don't know how this is gonna end, but if this is where it ends, no hard feelings, and you kind of make that peace with yourself, and then kind of give them the choice to you let them make that choice, because you can make them stay. Because the easy thing is to leave.
Right.
The easiest thing to do is to like leave you, because all they have to do is not answer the phone,
Yeah.
not visit you. All they got to do is carry on with their life. It's actually harder to stay. It's actually harder, you know. So the fact, you know, that give them the choice. If they make that sacrifice to stay, it's because they wanted to, and at that point, you know, it's worth it. And that's what happened with me and my girl. You know, like I didn't have any expectations of her staying.
Right.
Um, you know.
So you you had pretty an interesting experience when you first got out of the halfway house. You want to describe that, about just the move and everything, what happened and how you were treated, pretty much?
Yeah, well, when I got to the halfway house, you know how they some halfway house you're there for, you hear stories. Oh, I went to the halfway house. I was just there for 24 hours and they sent me home. Or, you know, my halfway house, I got there and they never sent me on home confinement. They never put me on the ankle monitor. I was supposed to do my entire time at the halfway house every single day. I ended up going on home passes, like on the weekends and things like that, but that was as far as we went. So when I get there, the intake, they asked me, you know, what are your plans, blah blah blah, whatever. So what my plan was to come to Florida after I get out, but I wanted to start the process of coming here after I get out the halfway house, because I wanted to spend some time with my parents in Ohio. So that's why I wanted to wait, get out, start the process. The process is gonna take like a few months to for them to do the home check and all that stuff, right? And so yeah, so that was that, right? So that's the only conversation that I had with them in that regard about my plans when I get out. 3 days before I get out, before I'm about to get out, they tell me that I have 3 days to be in Florida. I'm like, wait, what? Like, yeah, you have 3 days to be in Florida because your probation, the person that would have been your probation officer in Ohio does not want to spend the resources to give you a probation officer here when you're gonna move. So they just transfer my probation to Florida, and so it took. So basically, from the moment that I was about to get out the half house, 3 days before, 6 days later, I was in Florida,
Mm,
because as soon as I got out, I had 3 days to be here and report,
mm.
and they were not flexible. I called the Florida department. It was like, no, you got to be here in 72 hours or you're a fugitive. So I was like, what? Anyway, so that's what they
So
did.
so can you just, aside from having to deal with these people, can you just maybe, what, what was difficult for you, or what struck you as really strange when you first got out, after being locked up for so long? Like for
Uh,
me, like going into Walmart the first time and just being bombarded by choices everywhere. It's like I wanted to run out screaming because, I'd been eating what they threw in my tray for so long, and then all of a sudden I'm in here, and it's like it's just everywhere I look is a new choice, all this temptation, and like my brain couldn't. It took a little. It was just a strange to process. So did you have any weird
No,
experiences like that?
I didn't have that, to be honest with you, because like mentally, man, I was just never in prison. Like mentally, I was just in a weird space and time where like I'm aware that I'm here, but I'm not, like this is not what I'm used to. I'm used to other things. So